Hello, book besties.
I'm Albie.
And I'm Nikki,
Welcome to Backstage with the Book Babes.
where we spill the tea on the secret lives of your favorite romance authors. We can't wait to introduce you to our guest today. She's a hybrid author writing rom-coms. But first, how have you been, Albie?
I'm doing well. I still have the foster kitten with me. I think I have a home for her, so I'm really excited. That's a big relief
Nice.
off my mind. And I accidentally started another secret project that I'm really excited about.
Of course you did.
Because who can do only 4 projects at once? Not me. I need at least 5
What
or
does your-
6, apparently.
What does your editor have to say about that?
I haven't told her yet.
Nice.
So we'll see
Good
how
job.
it goes. But yeah, thank you.
Okay.
How are you about you, Nikki? What's new with you?
I'm working on several projects too, because that's what we do, of course, right? But I was at a book fair last Saturday. It was just one of the local ones, so it wasn't like a romance specific one or a big one or anything. And it was a little bit slow, which was not great. But the good thing about it was I had a table right next to my author friend Frances Everly, who we had on the podcast, and she's the one I'm starting to plan the sports romance convention with. So we had a lot of chats about that, and we got some stuff, rolling. Got some stuff rolling. So I'm excited for that.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yes. Everyone's excited for sure. I post on threads about it and I get so many comments and everything. And I'm like, why can't you engage like this when I talk about my books? So that's what's going on with us. But now we are very excited to introduce you to Sera Taino, a huge book babe. Welcome to you, Sarah.
Hello, ladies.
Hi.
We're so glad to have you with us today. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about your books?
So I started my publishing career with Harlequin. So all of my traditionally published books are with Harlequin. So my books are basically I publish through the special edition line. So it's a category romance. They tend to be short. These are the old sizes. They have the new ones now, which are totally different. I used to love these because I could just stick them in a bag and take them with me. But these are still nice size. But anyway, so my books tend to feature a Latin lead, one or both. And they emphasize a lot like community and family, found family. So my first series is set in a fictional version of my birth city, Jersey City. So it's more metropolitan, but it's in a small enclave in that town. Whereas my second series is set on the beach in a small beach town on the Gulf. So they do have a different flavor, but in essence, they are the same type of book. All about community and falling in love.
That's awesome. So how many do you have that are with Harlequin and how many do you have? Is it independently published then?
So most of my independently published publications are short romances, usually with anthologies. So I've published them after they've done their run with their anthologies. So I have quite a few of those that are online. It's interesting, as you know, with anthologies, they run for a period and then they stop, but they're still listed under your publication. So what I do then is I'll take those that get released and re-release them as short romances. Right now I do write also queer romances. In fact, my romances usually take place in very queer normative settings. So one of the romances is A Fashionable Deception, and that one is a self-published romance. And then I have 7 publications with Harlequin, 5 novel length and 2 short romances that are featured on the free Harlequin Reads online. And they've always been featured during Pride Month because they feature queer characters in love.
Awesome. That's very cool.
I wanted to ask you about the Harlequin romances with the signature series. What are the requirements, like page count, or is there specific type genre? Does everything have to be kind of grouped together? Because I know in the past I'd always seen things where like, oh, here's all our men in uniform books, or here's all of our cowboy or like Western romances. Was that part of that, or was the signature series like different kind of subgenres?
So so Harlequin has different lines, and so you'll have like the special edition line, which is the one I write for, has many different authors writing in that line, but they share similar characteristics. And one of the big characteristics that they share is that they're like a lot of rom-coms, all contemporary, usually emphasizing small towns. It usually has a really strong hook, something that readers can really identify with. Then you have other lines like Desire, which is a little bit higher heat. You have the Harlequin historicals that are unfortunately sort of they're phasing those out. And those were the home for the historical romances. There's Harlequin Romance, which is the classic, sort of the white covers. And those usually include like, romances that are larger than life. Usually those are your billionaire romances. And then you have like other lines like Afterglow, which used to be Karina, because Karina still, that's Heat of Rivalry's imprint. But we have Afterglow books now, which is sort of related to that, except it's not exclusively queer romance, but they're usually very high heat, contemporary. So each line has different requirements. So when you write for a specific line, there are certain guidelines that you follow. And usually book length is very important. This usually comes in around 75,000 words or less. And again, depending on the line, it depends is the word count and also what you're writing about. So again, mine emphasize community because that is one of the underpinnings of the special edition line.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. That's fun. It's fun. I write really well within requirements, I guess. I write really well within, if you tell me this is the prompt, this is your word count, it's for some reason that structure suits me. I can freestyle it too, but
Yeah.
other
Oh, good.
results,
Whatever
Yeah.
works, right?
Yeah.
whatever works.
And how did you get started publishing with Harlequin?
So there was an initiative. It's still Mills and Boone is doing it, but Harlequin still hosts it. It's the Romance Includes You mentorship. Every year they do a sort of contest where everybody sends in their manuscripts, and then they select from that manuscript an author and the manuscript to develop over the course of the year, and they're very closely followed by an editor. And so I was the 2019 winner for Romance Includes You,
nice.
and which was really cool because it resulted in my debut novel, A Delicious Dilemma, which was also then the beginning of that Navarro's Family miniseries. So, like I said, they do that every year. And I wanted that particular, it was funny because I came in with a manuscript that was like 120,000 words. And they were like, first thing we got to do is cut this down, young lady, because this is, we only do this. And so that was the biggest job of the editing at the beginning was really to scale that novel down. And I've
Nice.
done it. I've been writing with
Yeah.
them ever since.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Do you know of any ways in which publishing with Harlequin could be different than publishing with one of the other big five publishers?
Well, it depends, right? Because, for example, for the romance lines, have submitted in the past before I was picked up by Harlow. I had submitted with Avon and I had submitted with Berkeley, and so they all do have their requirements when it comes to romance. So I don't think that working with them is so different. I don't have that direct experience, but I do know that each publisher and each imprint they do have their requirements. Like a perfect example is if you take a romantasy novel. A romance can run 400 pages, no problem. There's world building. You expect that they're going to be a hefty length. You couldn't take that 400-page, eventually, a novel that would be whatever, 140,000 words or 150,000 words, and then pitch it to a contemporary line because contemporaries rarely go over 85,000 words. So they're like, you're in the wrong spot.
Yeah.
So everybody has their little place that they go to now.
Yeah.
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 I feel like even now that, with a lot more independently published books doing well and successful with varied lengths and a lot longer contemporary romances as well.
Absolutely.
Sometimes those ones are getting picked up even though they are longer. And I feel like it's
Absolutely.
starting to push the boundaries of what traditional publishing is looking for.
There are lines, like, for example, Harlequin has the Mira line, which publishes more than just, romance, and their novels do tend to be longer. There is a home for those kind of romances. I think that indie publishing does so much great stuff because they don't have as many structures in place, because there is also a branding component, right? When you pick up a novel of a certain length, and if it's Harlequin, that you expect certain things. But when you go into like Kennedy Ryan, for example, and you pick up one of her books, you're going to get what Kennedy gives you. And usually what she's feeding you is 5-star meal. So and she's stepping out, she's telling a story. And so because she's indie, she can pretty much brand herself and create the type of story that she wants. It's
For sure.
so exciting. I love indie novels for that reason.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Nice.
So one thing readers are always asking is where your ideas come from. So can you tell us a little bit about your inspiration for your books and how do you decide which one to write next?
Again, because I usually pitch, I go through a lot of thought when I pitch a series. So, and I'll give you the best example would be the one that I pitched now. Because I wrote A Delicious Dilemma, that is heavily autobiographical, especially, in that debut novel in that series. So it's set in a very specific place that's related to where I grew up. I took a very specific moment in time when that area of New Jersey was being gentrified, and I wanted to catch that moment. And it was very familiar to me, but I had to recontextualize it and to kind of move it forward because I was born way back when, and so to make it identifiable to contemporary writers, right, or readers. With this novel, one of the things that I knew that going into is that I wanted to write something set in Florida because now I live in Florida. I'm familiar with Florida. I love Florida nature and wildlife and the beaches. And so I wanted to capture the same feeling, but I wanted it to be a beach setting. And so that is the type of decision making. I begin with the overall universe. Then, of course, I think about a theme. So one of the big themes, the major theme in my first novel series was, how each of them, they all have this same core wound. All of them lost their mother at a very young age. And so the first series, there are three siblings. And so they all have this core wound. Each of them move through trauma in a different way and it informs their relationships. And so that was the big theme that I was using to unify that. And those things I would like to make it sound like it's something that came out like, oh, I thought of that. And I'm going to write it. Sometimes it comes afterwards and you're like, oh, that's what I had in mind. But with this one, I was a little bit more intentional. I was like, I want to write really strong women. I want this to be a celebration of women. I want women to be bosses. I want it to play a little bit with gender expectations. So with the first novel of, A Summer to Start Over, she's the boss. It's a workplace romance, but she's the boss. He works for her. And she's the one who's, she has to keep everything together because there are Latin characters. I reach into my culture. It is very expected that the older daughter, only daughter, carries a lot, especially in the sandwich generation that we see now. They carry not only caring for
Yep.
children, but also caring for elders. And so she's managing that while she's managing a resort. And, he has other obstacles that he's confronting as well as an immigrant. He's trying to bring his daughter to live with him in the United States. And so I inverted a little bit these structures because I wanted to play with them. And book two is sapphic. They're both equally bosses. They're all both equally like one is a researcher and she has her own research center, and the other one is a cybersecurity analyst. She runs her own company. So I wanted this series to be a celebration of like strong women. And so that one I did walk into intentionally. So sometimes I have that intentionality and sometimes it just
for sure.
happens.
Love that.
Yeah. And then when you do these ideas or you're making the choice of what you want to write next, how do you know which ones are like, this one is a full novel idea and this one is going to be a short novella idea?
Yeah, a lot of it has to do with scope, right? So again, I'm working within pre-existing requirements as a romance. I'm not writing a novel. It's a romance, but it's, whatever length or whatever. The genre itself gives you a sense of the scope. And so if I'm writing a category romance, I already know that I have to have enough story that's going to carry me through 5,000 words. If I know I'm writing a 20,000 word romance, then I know that the story has to fit through there. Now, has it happened at times that I've started a 20,000 word romance and it's kept on going? Absolutely. Absolutely. Last summer, I started a short romance and ended up being 65,000 words. It went where it wanted to.
Oops.
And the same thing, yeah. And the same thing happens with if I'm starting a category romance and I'll start it and I look at it and I'm like, I don't have enough going on here. I really need to go back and really think about, the community and what's happening to these characters, what I can do to have more story. Because we use a lot of tropes in romances, which is great. I have my tropes that I defend them with my life.
Yeah.
But it can always there has to be something underneath, and so you can usually tell in the writing where I'm like, okay, I'm just writing this, and I don't really have something. And there goes my
Yes, we got a kitten visitor for everyone just listening.
So she was trying to walk on the keyboard, and so I was like, we're not gonna do that.
Done. Mine does it all the time. If I'm on she will guaranteed show up on my keyboard. Oh,
Yes,
that's the best way to call a cat. Actually, is to open a computer. Yeah.
Oh, and now she's playing
anyway. I'm sure there's a science behind it, but
for sure. They're just needy and they want all the attention because they're the center of the world.
Yes, they really are.
And we accept it because They're adorable.
I love Tommy. I am such a cat person.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. I'm curious about the anthologies you were talking about. Can you tell us a little bit about those and how you go into them and what the process is?
It used to be in the beginning. In the beginning, I would look for them. I scoured the internet looking for them. I don't do it anymore, but back in the day, I was in Facebook and I would join groups and was looking for anthology opportunities. And so when I could found one that suited, because every anthology usually has a theme. Like I participated in one which was raising money for voting rights, but then there was another one that was like all fantasy, and another one that every anthology usually has its own theme, and so I would go and look for them. And then I found myself in groups that were like the Romance Cafe, which is on Facebook. They publish pretty continuously anthologies, and so I've created that connection with them. And now, if I want to write for an anthology, I can do that. I don't haven't written for an anthology in about a year or more because I've had opportunities with Harlequin. I've been doing some of the Harlequin online reads, which are short romances, and I've been pretty consistently busy on deadlines. I have, books that I have to write, but usually it's the anthology that dictates
Yeah.
what's going to be written. And usually I get ideas from everywhere, and so I keep a notebook of ideas. I have tons of ideas. I may never look at that idea again.
Yeah.
I might never look at that notebook again, but it's there and it's working. And so when I look at an anthology, I know that somewhere in there, I'll pull something out of the index card and say, okay, maybe I think I'll write this. But it's
Nice.
so unconscious. I think
Yeah.
it's so unconscious.
For
It
sure.
really
It's always
depends.
just there. Yeah, those
It's
ideas.
just there somehow. And if you can't find it, you have to read books and watch movies and do something to find it because
Inspiration.
it's
Yeah.
out there. Yeah, you got to find it. Yeah. You have
Yeah.
to poke the muse sometimes. Like,
Yeah.
this is
Oh
I've
my
actually
gosh.
got 2 anthologies going on right now too. I'm doing one for Reader Nation in Vegas
Mhm.
in November, and I'm just editing that story. They have an editor doing the whole thing, so I
Oh,
got it
that's
back
so
from their
cool.
editor. So I got to work on that. But then I just signed up for another but
That's
it's not
fun
due
though.
until
Yeah.
the end of November. It's a Valentine hockey themed anthology. It's run by an author that I know. Like I've met her at local events.
Yeah,
So yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
And that's how you do. You make connections and people might, reach out to you, or sometimes you, see it
exactly.
and you poke them and you might get that opportunity. I have someone now that she helps me out and she'll keep an eye out and then she'll send me messages
That's
if she sees
helpful. Yeah.
something that she
That's
knows I'm
really good.
interested. Yeah, because I can't do it all and I miss a lot of things. A lot of things just fly by me because real life and it's not, I just don't have time. It's not anything because I do have also a full-time job and it's a shame because there's some beautiful Love is All just dropped this month. It's the anthology that they used to raise money for, I think it's the Trevor Project this year. They just use different
Good.
LGBTQ projects that
Nice.
associations that they raise money for in charities. And so that drops every June almost. And it's nice. I love them. I like writing for them and I like reading them. So if you can find them and you find one that suits and kind of matches something that you have in mind and your schedule, it's so great. It's so great to write
Yeah.
to them.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Also, I forgot to ask earlier, but when you were talking about your books initially, how spicy are they? Are they, and I know that's subjective, but like, what do we think?
It is subjective. It was so funny because I don't usually read reviews. I spare my sanity,
Yeah.
but I
Seriously.
did. But I do keep my Goodreads, sort of up to date on what I'm reading and stuff. And I just happened to, oh, let me see what's happening over here. And so I looked, and it was interesting for a summer to start over. I had one reviewer that said that that it was so spicy, and I had to skip the spicy scene. And then there was another one that said I wasn't spicy enough. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. So usually with the special edition line, they're pretty flexible, but I don't go super high heat. So I would say I would say almost 2 to 3 chili peppers if you were
Yeah.
to rate it on a
Okay.
5 scale. So I try to
Yeah.
keep it there, because again, it's the line sort of there. It has a certain reputation, but I've read some spicy things in
Yeah.
special edition. So it really just
Yeah.
depends on what the story asks for. If I'm on my own, usually I'll go a little bit higher. But I keep it. It really depends on the couple too. Like sometimes you have
Yeah.
freakier couples than others, and
Yes.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
gotta give them what they
It's
want, what
true.
they're doing.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
depends. Yeah,
Sometimes they just can't keep their hands to
they
themselves for sure.
can't. They're
Oh
so they're
my
all over the
gosh.
top.
Yes.
Just
You're
get
like,
it.
I need some plot in here. And they're like, no, we're just going to stay
No,
in bed
we're good. We're good.
or other locations.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
For sure. Now, when you're writing your
Mm.
spicy scenes, do you have a method of like ending them or lining them before you go into them, or it just kind of happens as you're writing?
Well, in general, I'm a plotter, right? And so I sort of plot when those scenes, I try to think about one thing I keep in mind is escalation. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to, hit it out of the park with a really spicy scene, even though it could be effective. There's a lot of novels where if they're like a friends with benefits situation, or
Mm-hmm.
it's like,
Yep.
it's sort of hookup that then turns into feelings.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You can start with an extremely spicy scene, but the quality then of that scene is a little bit different, right? Because it might be missing that emotional connection. That's really what you're building towards, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm writing that, that's what I'm thinking about. And it's reflecting a little bit their personality. So I jotted a few notes down about it. I was thinking about, well, one of the things I love when I'm reading a romance, right, is I want yearning. I want to suffer with my characters. I want to suffer with the people
Mm-hmm.
that I'm reading. And so most of my Harlequin novels are slow burns because I want that payoff after all of that. I want them to get closer and get farther away. And everything that they do together is an escalation. So they're kissing and they're touching and then they're doing this and they're doing that until, they arrive at something that really shows what they're feeling about each other
Yeah.
inside. So when they're finally get together, they're gnawing at the bars. Like they want to get together. So, but I think about the difference in the different, in my different pairings. So, for example, in my debut novel with Val and Philip, like Val is I wanted them to be the couple that were hot for each other when they were in their 50s and 60s. And
Mm-hmm.
so I wanted them, but they were vanilla in the sense that, they're extremely passionate couple. And, and they're having fun in bed and they're laughing. And so there's a lot of that. And they're awkward, but it's okay because the awkwardness is fine. Whereas then you have like my second book, which was The Best Man's Problem. Rafi and Etienne, they're a little like like Shane and Ilya in the sense that they're opposites. Etienne is this huge personality. He's vivacious. He loves life, and then but you have Rafi is a bit neurotic, and he's a bit, very much in his head. And so with them, it was more like when it was more like Rafi breaking down because he's breaking down emotionally. He's also breaking down in his intimacy. And so when he arrives then to that he's fully abandoned and totally over, like takes Etienne completely by surprise because it's something that he didn't expect. So it really depends on the couple. The third book is friends second chance romance that has a different quality. So it really just depends on them and what that's
Mm-hmm.
going to look like. And I do plan it, I to a degree. Then they do what they want.
Of
I
course.
can.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
As they will.
get that. Yeah. So when you said that you kind of plan things out, do you know ahead of time like what tropes you're gonna hit and therefore like how many spicy scenes you're gonna do and how hot a couple is beforehand? Or I mean, obviously everything
Mm,
couples sometimes change
yeah.
the way you write it.
And that's it. That's it. The level of planning is not like down to the nitty-gritty detail. Obviously, I'll
Mm-hmm.
know where they're approaching, in that sort of like continuum. Like I know where they want to get to. And so this is what they're doing. Maybe if they make out in the car, maybe they hand on the leg or they brush up against each other or they kiss or then they, oh my God, I kissed you. I'm sorry. And then don't be sorry. Let's do it again. So it's sort of like, so I might plot that out. I do plot that out, but in the writing, things emerge. I do try to plan. Obviously, I plan for tropes because I'm doing the synopsis before I start writing. It's one of the
Mm-hmm.
things with Harlequin. They want that synopsis written out. They want to see what those beats look like. But everybody knows as you write, things go in their
Mm-hmm.
own direction and things will develop
Mm-hmm.
as is natural. This one I was intentional about this book that I'm writing now, which is the third book, because there are some micro tropes that I wanted to write. I wanted to see them because there's a workshop that I did and that I heard about. No, I heard about it. Some of them I do, some of them I hear about it. It's like writing to the id, and I wanted to tap into something that
Mm-hmm.
I want to enjoy. What would I want to see? And so I really kind of tapped into myself as a reader and then sort of see which, micro tropes I could pull out and see what can be in play. I try to plan it, but again, in the end, when you're in it,
Yeah.
sometimes the story takes different directions.
For sure. It totally does.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally does. And so when you're writing, what sort of setup or what kind of vibes do you need? Do you have specific, do you like to listen to music? Do you like quiet? How does that work for you?
It's funny because I do have playlists for my books, but I can't listen to them while I'm writing. I cannot listen to anything that has lyrics or anything that's too dramatic because it distracts me. I'll
Mm-hmm.
start listening to the music and then the music is great. Like when I'm not there and I'm listening to music, scenes will come to me. I'll say, wow, this would be great. soundtrack, or this would be great for this scene or that scene. And I could do that independent of the writing. But when I'm writing, I either need silence or white noise. Sometimes I do white noise to drown out what's happening around me, or sometimes I do, instrumental. I do have a very specific playlist for writing, and it's all classical instrumental pieces because I can enjoy it and at the same time I can tune it out. And that's sort of something that I need. In terms of vibe, I do. It used to be when my children were a little bit younger, I wrote wherever I could. I always took my computer with me. I took a notebook with me wherever I could. I wrote. I had a little, if I could, even 200 words, just write it. But now that they're older, and they're a little bit less dependent on me. I have
Hmm.
like an actual writing place and I can sit down and I can
Yes.
really set it up. I can light a candle. Maybe I'll, pull a card and, just to set the tone and then I'll start writing. And it's a different experience than sort of pulling your stories piecemeal from wherever you can find the time. And
Hmm.
so that's more where I'm at now. But it used to be I had to be able to drop and write
Yeah,
wherever I could. Yeah.
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. But I really like
So,
having a spot.
Yeah.
and you mentioned pulling a card. That's for the tarot that you use for your writing, correct? Can you
Right,
tell us a
right,
little
right.
bit about that process?
Absolutely. I love tarot for its art, number one, and because I'm a literature professor in my day life, or my full time job, I love archetypes. I love to think. I think in stories, and so tarot pairs really nicely with storytelling. I mostly use it for a couple of things. I use it for journaling. So I'll pull spreads for myself, and I'll journal a lot. I journal a lot. But I also use it to set a mood. Like, okay, what do I have to keep in mind while I'm writing? And I'll pull a card, and it might be the fool. So maybe you need to be willing to take a chance. And so okay, I'm going to keep that in mind as I'm writing. Feel like it's more like my intuition speaking to me than anything else.
Yeah.
Sometimes, though, I will be structured and I'll use it for like characters. So I might have a character. I'll take Olivia from my book that's coming up. And, she's going through something. She still has some of the drama from her breakup, from her previous relationship. And I might pull a relationship spread, as if I was going to give her some advice,
Oh, cool.
and so I'll
Yeah.
pull it and I'll see what the, cards saying sort of related to her personality. And it gives me insight. Then I'll journal about it. I do a lot of free writing, especially when I'm stuck on a character. I'll pull a notebook out. I don't stare at the page. I put it aside, pull a notebook out, and I start free writing what my problem is. I'll pull a few cards. Just anything that helps me to get in touch with, sort of breaking that, whatever
Hmm.
it is that's blocking me. Sometimes I'll just move on to another scene. I'll think of, I really wanted to write, this scene with this there's turtles in my book that's coming out. I want to write the scene. And so I'll write that and then I'll go back to it. But the free writing and the tarotting really helps me with that. It
That's
helps me get
awesome.
in touch with like what's going on in my head because
Hmm.
that's where a lot of the drama. And I've been using tarot for years. I don't use it for divination.
Hmm.
Also because I don't want to tell somebody something and
Yeah.
then the opposite happens. I'm like, sorry, okay,
Yeah.
here's your money back. I'm so sorry. I don't want
Yeah.
to do all
Yeah.
that. But I do enjoy the journaling aspect and the archetypal aspects because
Hmm.
it connects so well. It works for me. It
I
works
love
for
that.
me and it
Yeah. Hmm.
externalizes a little bit my thinking,
Yeah.
allows me
Yeah.
to look at different things. So
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I saw that you also do some fan fiction. What kind of fan fiction realms do you hang out with? And do you use your tarot for that as well? Or is that kind of a separate
no,
writing
I
journey
don't
for
really
you?
write fan fiction. I don't really
Oh,
write
okay.
fan fiction anymore just because I don't have time. I love it. I
Hmm.
love it. Last summer, I was writing for an Asian BL fandom. I was just having fun with that. Just some short pieces. BL, by the way, is boy love. It's they're queer romances
Oh,
that are
okay.
very
Yeah.
specific to like Southeast Asia. In China, in Chinese, it's called danmei. In Thailand and in Southeast Asia, it's BL or boy love. Girl love is another variety too, which is focus on sapphic relationships. And so I was writing a little bit of that. I've been in fandom and in fan fiction since I was a teenager. I was like back in Star Wars. I was doing Thundercats. When I was growing up with my cousins, we used to make comic books, like comic pages, because my cousin could draw. I
Oh,
couldn't draw.
nice.
He would draw, and I would write the dialogue, and it was like Thundercats or it was He-Man, and it was like that. That was what we did, just
That's
to
so cool.
pass the time. That was so much fun. So I've been in and out of fandom for a long time. Right now, obviously, I think everybody and their mother is in the heated rivalry fandom
For
right
sure.
now, and their father and their they thens and theys and the girls and
Hmm.
the gals and everybody's there.
Yeah.
But I don't write for it because I so busy. And also because I feel like they got it covered. Like there's so many stories. What I do sometimes is if I'm on Threads and I'll see a little thread float by, I'll stop and I'll read it. And it's usually so cute. They're usually like domestic Ilya and Shane. I'm like, let's go. That's what
Yeah,
I love. Live
seriously.
for
Yeah.
that, you know?
Yeah.
Live for it. And that's where I'm at right now. But I've been in like Sense8. I remember I was really like crazy about that show. I wrote a little bit of fanfic for that and the Hunger Games. And I think
Nice.
what was another one? Oh, WandaVision had me crazy, had me
That
literally
was a good one.
feral. I
Yeah.
loved WandaVision so much.
Yeah.
And Loki. I loved Loki so much too. So those are usually, I'm not doing writing lately. I used to. I'm not ashamed of it. It's just I'm on deadline all the
Yeah,
time. So
Yeah.
seriously. Yeah.
Oh my
I
gosh.
don't have time for it.
Yeah.
But I do love it because it's very relaxing. Like you just
Nice.
sit there
Yeah.
and you're like, okay, I think I want to write them, making a cake together. Let's go. And it's just fun. It's
Nice.
relaxing. And there's no
Yeah.
requirements. You just
No
go
pressure. Yeah.
wherever the
Mm-hmm.
muse takes you is where you go. And it's so much fun. And then you put it out there, and if people like it, then you get that immediate feedback and to get that dopamine hit. And if you don't, it's fine too,
Yeah.
because the fun
Yeah.
was writing it. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, so you have a bunch of deadlines. You're writing novels. You're writing novellas. You're like being a professor. How are you balancing all of this? Because I'm definitely not balancing my stuff. So I'm just wondering.
I'm not either. I'm actually a high
Yeah.
school teacher. High school teacher. I don't want to claim I do teach college level courses, but at the high school.
Oh,
So I just want to make sure I
Oh,
want to because
gotcha.
professors they go through a lot to get those PhDs. But
hmm
I definitely I'm a high school teacher. I keep a schedule, I keep a calendar. I used to be more crazy about like I'd run on 3 hours of sleep and I'd write and I'd do all this stuff. And I'm like, I don't do that anymore. I'm tired.
Yeah, seriously.
So I try to like I know what I can do. And I try you can do everything you want to do, just sometimes you can't do it all at once, right?
hmm
Mm,
And so you just have to kind of pace yourself. So I usually plan according to my academic year. I plan around that. I try to give myself as much time as possible because things always drop. I thought I was writing something from now until April and something else just dropped. And it's like, okay, it's fine. But I have space for it because I built that in there. I didn't overwhelm myself.
mhm.
So I usually schedule. I write a lot of lists. I usually start the week like Sunday. I'll write a list for what I need to have accomplished. It's usually pulled from my monthly list, and then I break it down. Okay, what am I doing this week? What am I doing this day? And the fun is, of course, crossing things out. Sometimes you can't, it just rolls over, and you
Yeah.
prioritize the things that are due. And I think it was Nora Roberts who had this wonderful analogy of your life being like different types of balls that you're juggling, right? You try to keep them all in the air.
Yeah.
Some of
Yeah.
them are going to fall. You make sure that the ones that fall are not your delicate ones that are going to break, right?
hmm
So
Mm,
you keep your family in the air, you keep your
hmm
deadlines in the air, you keep your health. A lot of us, we ignore our
Yeah.
health and, we make ourselves sick,
yeah.
keep that in the air. And so, if you miss a deadline, if you miss posting on Instagram, I have no problem not posting for a month on social media. I'm good. I'm okay
Yeah.
because it is what it is. There are other things that come to the fore. So a lot of lists, a lot of calendars, a lot of grace,
Yeah.
and a
For
lot of
sure.
sleep. I
Yeah.
love my sleep. I love my sleep so
Yeah, it's
much.
so important.
I miss I miss so much sleep. I had two kids and I think I didn't
Yeah.
sleep. And they were like, there's an 8-year gap between them.
Oh,
So I think I didn't sleep for about 20 years.
Oh my gosh.
I want my sleep.
I have the
Yeah.
opposite. My kids are
Yeah.
twins,
And I
so
yeah.
it's
So you get
timeline.
that burst.
Yeah, exactly. It was bad then, but now they're 13, so it's not so bad. Yeah.
I love when they hit that age. I love
Yeah.
teenagers. They're
They're
great.
they're fun. Yeah.
They can be a handful, but they're
Yeah.
great. Yeah. They're a lot of
So you're
fun.
talking about being a high school teacher and then you also write romance books. Do you keep that separate or do people at your
Absolutely.
school know that you write?
No, nobody. It
Yeah.
was funny though. I was at a book signing and one of my former colleagues, she walked in and she was like, I'm getting my book signed. And we were like, we had this moment where we're like, like the Spider-Man meme, right? We're like, she was awesome. She's always been awesome. Usually book people are the coolest people in the world.
Yes, they are for sure.
So she came in, I signed some books, we chatted. It was great. She showed me the author that she was going to see and I knew her. And so it was really fun,
Nice.
but I do keep it
Yeah.
separate. I mean, because, it's my books are not for them. Now, if I
Yeah.
wrote a YA novel, I'd be like, by
Yeah.
all means, but it's not for them. And I make that, that's why I keep a pen name. That's why I keep a
hmm
complete
hmm
separate persona. And it
For sure.
works because my students are usually not looking for the books
hmm
in special edition. Special edition has a
Yeah.
very specific demographic.
Yeah.
And so they're not really looking for that. They are all in their romanticy era.
Yeah,
They're over there.
seriously. Yeah,
They're
they're
over
reading
there.
Fourth Wing for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Who just recommended Fourth Wing to me before school let out? One of my students. One of my
That's so
students
funny.
also recommended a couple of other books. And I was like, young lady, does your mom know you're reading?
That's so funny.
Mhm.
But
Love
yeah,
that.
in general, I do keep it separate.
Yeah, perfect. So you're talking about getting sleep. Do you have any other practices that you put in place to prevent burnout and also to refill your creative well when you need to?
Oh, absolutely. I was in my fulfill the creative well now in this period because school had just let out. I had some dental surgery that I had done. So I was kind of confined to being quiet and in bed, which I was not sorry about. So I was reading. I was reading a lot. I was catching up on my backlist of films, and so what I do is I do I do try to keep a schedule. I do try to keep a humane schedule so that I'm getting enough sleep, so that I'm getting exercise every day. I'm eating well every day, like I try to keep a humane schedule. And that's one of the biggest things. But if I feel myself burning out, I don't have a problem saying stop this afternoon, today, this weekend. I'm stop, stop, stop. I have to recover. I have to do because I have a lot of work also in my day job. Now I compartmentalize. That means that when I'm there, I'm there. That's
Yeah.
all I think about. That's all I do. Like I'm grading or planning, I'm there. I try not to bring it home. It happens, but I try not to bring it home, but then I don't bring my writing to work. I'm very careful to make sure because you can get it done. You just have to be very intentional. And so
Yeah.
planning really well, planning for your own, like I know myself and I know that if I don't sleep after a few days, I'm terrible. I'm non-functional. I know that I'll get a little low grade fever and I'll start not to feel that great, and so there's these things I know about myself. And so planning and working around those weaknesses. So the practices, like I said, keep a pretty strict schedule. I make sure I eat well, sleep well, exercise every day, take breaks. And
Awesome.
I schedule in my when I turn in a book, I'm not touching anything unless I'm journaling. I'm not touching anything story related. I'm going to rest for a few days. I'm going to read a book. I rely heavily on
Mm,
audiobooks.
nice.
So that because I can't always read, because if I'm
Hmm.
sitting down, I'm probably trying to write. But I do rely on audiobooks and things to kind of keep me going. Because
Yeah.
something has to go in. You can't always just
Mm-hmm.
put it out.
Yeah, for
Mhm.
sure.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. So you're with Harlequin. You started with Harlequin. Do you see yourself staying traditionally published for like the rest of your career? Or do you think you'd ever consider going indie published at some point?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that hybrid for me works really well now. When I have time, I'll write something shorter. I can put it out. I'm fine where I'm at with Harlequin right now because it suits me with my life and with my schedule and everything. But when I get an opportunity, absolutely to publish something indie, I think that,
Mhm.
like I said, you can do so much in the indie
Hmm.
space. And there's such a great community. There's so many great writers,
Oh,
such
yeah.
great community, sort of
Yeah.
lifting each other up and supporting each other. And even if I'm not writing indie novels, building those connections, you meet the coolest, most creative people and
Mm,
you learn so much from them and they're so nice. And like I said, book people are the coolest people. I love hanging out with
yeah.
them, just apart from
Yeah.
publishing or whatever else. So, yes, eventually, I write, but I'm happy where I'm at right now and with the pace that I have right now. It works for me.
Yeah.
Who knows? Ask me again in 2 years. We'll see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Well, then
Once
the
my
nice thing
youngest is
is
in
you
college,
can,
we'll see. Yeah.
you can make that
hmm
choice anytime
Mhm.
you want.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm satisfied with that right now.
So as for what types of things you write, are there any tropes or subgenres that you would never write?
I never say never. I never say never. I used to say, well, I'm not going to write a baby surprise pregnancy because there's nothing fun about pregnancy. What are you doing?
Yeah,
But
exactly.
I read a recent one by Laurel Greer, who is a fellow special edition writer, and it was great. I enjoyed it. I was like, this is so nice. This is so adorable. So I never say never. Now maybe bully romancing, maybe like dark romance because I'm like a very fluffy person. I don't know. I mean, maybe just to do something different and say, let me try this. I would
Yeah.
do it to challenge myself. So there's nothing, and I don't know. I'll try anything at least once.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then with having written as many books as you have up to this point, do you have a favorite character or book?
It's hard to say. I
That's a
think a
tough
lot of
one.
I
writers will
know.
say it's really hard to say. Now, I can say that there were some books that were more fun to write than others. Like my third book, The Trouble with Exes, I wrote that while I was on vacation. I was in another country. I had to hide in the closet to go write. And I was so like, that was I remember like suffering that book, like suffering literally, like, how am I going to get this done? I was so stressed when I wrote that book. And it's a great book. I love it, but people love it. Some readers say it's my favorite of the three. I don't know what I think it depends on what you like. But that book made me suffer a lot.
Yeah.
But then when I think about the book that I just wrote, which is the one that's coming out next month, I had a lot of fun writing that. It was because I had to do research on turtles and research
Huh.
on hacking and especially turtle. I love sea life and
That's
I
so
love the
cool.
beach and I love those beach towns. They're so quirky and they're so much fun. And so I loved writing that so much. I had so much fun. So I don't really have any characters that are my favorite, but I definitely have books where I had more fun writing them. And some of them I cried a lot,
Mhm.
but I love them
Yeah.
all.
Yeah,
So
for sure. For sure.
yeah.
Then another question we like to ask all our authors is what's one thing that's not tied to money that would make you feel like you've made it as an author, or maybe something that's already happened that's made you feel like, yeah, this is it. I got it.
I like there's the obvious stuff, right? Like there's the, getting picked up and being made into a series
For
and
sure.
turning into a global phenomenon that everybody knows. Like
Rachel Reed. Yeah.
that would be
For sure.
Yeah.
Rachel, wherever you are, you are like
You're killing it. Yeah.
I hope you're killing it and you're great. Love you. And that's great. Those are the obvious ones, right? I had a book signing I think it was like a month ago where someone came to my table and she said, "I came here because I knew you would be here."
Oh,
And I was like, "That's amazing. I love you. Let me put you in my pocket and I will keep you forever. And I will never let you out," which probably weirded her out. But it was like that when something like that happens, I'm like, okay, that it means a lot to me because that makes me feel like somebody is out there waiting for my book.
Mhm.
I had another conference where because the first book, the mother dies in that book, right? And so it's a they you open the series with them. They're adults, but they have this trauma in their background. And I went to Steamy Lit conference a few years ago, and she came to me and we literally cried together. She was like, "This book made me
Oh.
feel so seen
Oh.
because the way that you describe what happened and how they're dealing with it and how they struggle with it, even though they're adults, because these things don't go away. They keep coming back and they keep coming
Mhm.
back." She says, "This made me feel seen." It was very emotional. And that makes me feel made. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, for sure.
it's a very small percentage of authors that are really going to explode and become like these phenomena. And that's fine.
Mhm.
It's those moments that make me feel like, okay, okay, that makes me feel really like I
Yeah.
made it. I'm good. I'm good. I can
Yeah.
stop
Yeah.
here. I'm good. It makes me really happy.
Sure.
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah. No, I'm very lucky in that respect.
And then we always like to ask, what is one question that you would like to ask the listeners? And then for everybody listening out there, we'll be posting this on our Instagram for you to answer, or you can comment on the YouTube video.
Well, I mean, I'm a reader before I'm a writer. I love, love, love books. I glommed 4 books, like in my, convalescence. I love books. So if your readers are out there, based on like this interview, if there's a book that you've loved or there's a book you think I'll like, drop it in the comments. I will try and get it. I will try to read it. I love a good book rec. And I have my phone is full of like, how when authors will post pictures and titles of, "Oh, I'm working on this," or they'll lead you in and they'll hook you in with those like little trope pages, and I download them and I keep them. And I say, okay, I'm gonna look and see if I have time. I can try to read this. I'm constantly collecting book recs, so send them my way. I want to know what you're reading because I
For
want to
sure.
read it too. Yeah,
Always good. Yeah.
definitely. Yeah,
Always good to get new recs because there's so many out
absolutely.
there.
So many. There's so much good stuff.
For
So much
sure.
good stuff. And bonus points if it's queer or BIPOC authors, but I am open to everything. Send it my
Awesome.
way.
Love
Yeah.
that.
Sweet.
And then we have one final question. If you could read
Of course.
any trope for the rest of your life, but you could only read one, what would it be?
Slow burn. I write it. I read it.
Nice.
Make me suffer. Make me suffer. To
Yeah.
cry.
Make you wait
I
for it.
want to. I want to be like, why are you doing this? I want to slap them both, or them, 3 or 4, whatever you got going on. I'm good.
Awesome. Perfect.
Well, thank you so much for coming out today, Sarah, and letting us peek behind the curtain of your author life. Before we sign off here, could you let our listeners know about your next release and how they can either pre-order it or the best way to get updates on it?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, first of all, I'm Sera Taino everywhere. I snagged that as soon as I knew what I was going to write, and then I do have a webpage, serataino.com. that I keep at least the front landing page. I keep it pretty up to date, and the book page. I do have a blog, and I kind of go because I do like long form writing, but time. So when I do get a
Mm-hmm.
chance, I will update that. But you can. My next release is my first sapphic full length romance. I did write a sapphic short romance that's featured on Harlequin's free Harlequin Pride online read. A really long name, and it's a free read, and so you can access it there. Right now, they're
Nice.
revamping the website, so you might need to just wait a moment until they're done doing that. But anyway, they're loading those stories as they work on it. For Their Summer Rescue comes out next month, and this is my sapphic romance set in the Florida Gulf Coast, and it is Nyla is a research scientist. She has a research center. It gets hacked. Olivia is the cybersecurity specialist who is brought in to sort of deal with that. Olivia is actually a cameo from my first series. She's the cousin of the three protagonists from the Navarro family. So it's,
Awesome.
I tried to link them in that way. So this is that.
That's
If you sign up for a newsletter, if you sign up for the newsletter, I do push out short romances all the time to my newsletter readers and sort of little things. Just join and hopefully you'll find something you like.
Fun. Love that.
And there is a pre-order. There is a pre-order bonus. I don't know if I don't know by the time it posts this video, but it's through the New Romantics bookstore. They're a great bookstore in Orlando. Love them so much. And they'll mail the books. So
Beautiful.
you can get in touch
Like a
with
signed
them.
copy?
Hmm. Yep. With
That's
it has
awesome.
it has character art and stickers and merch. It's a little, a little
Fun.
package that I put
Love
together.
it.
So yeah,
Awesome.
definitely.
Awesome.
That sounds so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think you told us where to find you. So,
Yes. Instagram and
yeah.
Threads are my two biggest haunting places. I stay
Yeah.
away from X. It scares me.
Yeah,
I
seriously.
Facebook. Yeah. So I'm everywhere. I'm everywhere. You can
Perfect.
look for. I'm sure you'll find me. But that's
Awesome.
the best way. Threads and Instagram.
Yeah, we'll post those links in our show notes as well.
Thank you.
Perfect. And to all of our listeners out there, if there are any questions you wish we had asked our amazing guest today, please let us know in the comments below. And this gremlin thanks you for coming.
Bye-bye,
Bye-bye.
kitty. Bye-bye, everyone. Thanks so much.
Bye. Thanks for getting dirty with us. If you had fun, leave a review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. New episodes will be released every Wednesday, and we've got an amazing lineup of authors to share with you.
If there's someone you'd love to see on our show, or you've got burning questions for your favorite authors, send us an email to backstagewiththebookbabes@gmail.com or leave us a comment on our social media accounts. You can find us on Instagram, Threads, and TikTok, Backstage with the Book Babes. Links and applications for authors to join us as guests are at linktree/Backstage with the Book Babes.
You can follow me, Albie Blake, with that handle on social media, specifically Instagram and TikTok.
You can follow me, Nikki Jewell, and learn about my books at authornikkijewell.com. I'm also on Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at NikkiJewell_books.
Thanks again for joining the party. Keep turning those pages and keep it spicy.